Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, good whatever it is, wherever you are, whoever you are, welcome once again to Nerd Week Live for our last news show of the, please God, let it be over, 2020. I'm Rodney Brown, the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber, first-person shooter on Facebook as a cosplay photographer, a Burley_adopter on the Twitters, as a tech journalist and other stuff and other things and other places. And joining me tonight as a fantastically fully realized crew, and let's see, I think we're going to go counterclockwise in my view, so that means we're going over to the, I'm guessing that makes you a pirate there, sir, Mr. Byron.
Yeah. Hello, Byron McNeil, aka Byron D0 on multiple facets of the internet. And I am helping to wind down this dreadful year with some bottom shelf rum because it's been that kind of year.
It certainly has. The most wonderfully Fez-enabled of all of us, Mr. Greg.
Hi everybody, Greg Snyder, aka Wonder Llama Cosplay and or Photography. Good to see you all. I figured it was just about New Year's. Throw on the glad rags. This was the most festive hat I could find at short notice. Hopefully it fits the bill.
Awesome.
I went, Byron, I went in the opposite direction of you since our frequent contributor and my good friend Gogo's not here with us this evening. It's a little touch of some bourbon from their distillery in Nashville. And a shout out to the folks in Nashville after a harrowing week, to say the least.
Exactly.
That I picked up when I was there, 417 months ago last summer.
And luckily they were not affected by the explosions down there. And let's see. No, Byron's wearing a tam. What would you call that cap, sir? Captain Planet.
Honestly, I don't know what they call these caps. It's probably why I spent 5 years trying to find the name of it. But then someone gifted it to me yesterday as a Christmas gift.
Scully, I think.
So Scully, yeah.
Yeah, probably. I love
Mulder
it, man.
and Scully. Yeah.
I love it because it protects my hair, but it keeps the sun out of my eyes. You know how it is. Anyways, hi guys, it's Luis Correa, Crash the Photos co-producer with Nerd Caliber. Finally able to have a Tuesday off where I can come and hang out with the best bros ever.
Yay!
I'm looking forward to actually have some opinions, trying not to swear like I normally do, which never. I almost did it. I almost started off with the F-bomb, but we'll see how it goes. You know, it's like an orchestra where we start down here with shit and we work our way up to the big word. Unlike my colleagues, I haven't mixed up a drink just yet. That's only because I've been on a little bit of a cleanse with the alcohol, which is going to change on New Year's, which I probably won't remember the next day. But anybody who's been around me at conventions knows that I don't remember it anyways because of the way I drink.
Conventions, I remember those.
Yes, they were fun.
Should we call you sometime on New Year's Day and check for signs of life?
Yeah, you can just knock on my door. It's funny is I actually have to work that night doing freight at my job, so I'm just gonna be like, hungover, Mo. I almost did it again. See, damn it! I'm trying to catch myself.
All right. Well, we'll give Lewis a little bit of time to try to figure out, how to speak without cursing. And it's the benefit of the overnight shifts working offloading the crates. I bet nobody can hear you swear except for your co-workers, so you just just let it rip.
It's wild.
Then the only person in this entire crew that actually is blessed with a head of hair, Ashley, if you would.
Hello, it's Tuesday. You know what that means. My name is Ashley Lauren Rogers. I am the worst bro on the planet.
Or the best.
Depending. And I'm a playwright based out of Brooklyn, New York. I'm a contributor and sometimes a writer for Nerd Caliber.
Cool. All right, before we get into topics, let's see. We've got, I have no idea how to pronounce that, RexNGYT. Welcome to the show. SQDZ, Squids. Welcome to the show. Adam Lamb, welcome to the show. Christina Souza, welcome back. Abigail Black, welcome back. Harry Brady, welcome back. Luminous, welcome back. Luminous says, Lewis, glad to see you back. And you still got that blue light?
Thank you, Luminous. I am actually glad to be back, and I do have the blue light. It's funny, is that light is actually in my living room right now because I'm a party to alcoholics, and they like to fall asleep to the stars.
Ooh, pretty. My mic has a lot of distortion, huh? I might have the gain up a little high. Let me bring it down. That will hopefully change soon too, as I'm getting a hand-me-down from Lewis. Abigail, this is a show in which we cover nerd news from the previous week, topics on movies, TV, comic books, all sorts of things like that. This show will also include our 2020 in memoriam, but that's what this show is all about. Feel free to ask us questions as we're going through it, and you can ask any kind of questions, but chances are it's not related to topics of the night. We're probably not going to get into it too deep or at all. So we're going to start with actually a bit of news before we go into the in memoriam. And that news is related to some of the biggest news in the past 2 weeks. That is, of course, Cyberpunk 2077. Yeah. And the news is that as people were threatening for a long time, well, finally, one of the investors in CD Projekt SA, the parent company of CD Projekt Red, which is the video game division that made Cyberpunk 2027 or 2077, The Witcher games, etc. That investor has sued the company in federal court in Los Angeles. Andrew Tramp is his name, seeking to represent other investors who bought the company's securities, saying that they failed to disclose that the game was, quote, virtually unplayable on the current generation Xbox or PlayStation systems due to an enormous number of bugs. So their stocks dropped. Yeah, it was just a bad time for them altogether. I don't know where this is going to go. There seems to be growing evidence that the executives at Cyberpunk 20 or CD Projekt Red knew that the game was essentially unplayable on current generation consoles and still marketed it as appropriate for current generation consoles. And that's the case. That is fraud. So
yeah, they definitely misled a lot of press by saying that they were running the game on current gen consoles 24/7 to bug test,
right,
which they weren't actually doing, allegedly weren't actually doing.
Yes.
And honestly, I agree with lawsuits in the sense that these things get handled in court and stuff like that to be held accountable. My only problem that I have in specifically in that regard is if you're going to have a lawsuit, the executives got to get hit. Like this bullshit
absolutely.
Of executives kind of dance away from they're the ones who make the big decisions, and then it trickles down to the devs who always get fired and laid off, and these people put in 70, 80-hour weeks, especially during crunch. Like it's not fair that they lose their money and whatever options that they get because executives get to I almost swore, F off.
Go ahead, Byron.
Like this. I mean, the whole thing stinks of corporate greed, and I'm definitely with Jim Sterling on the whole idea that CD Projekt Red was never an ethical company to begin with, and that's because, again, the whole crunch culture aspect of it is nothing new to the video game scene. And I'm sure that the devs had the best intentions for this game, but because they just wanted to squeeze every dollar out of this IP on every platform available, it blew up in their faces, and the lowest common denominator is blaming the devs. So this is the lawsuits were inevitable.
I don't know that's entirely fair. I mean, the job of this company is to make as much money as they can. That's the job of basically every company, whether you agree with that or not. Forcing it to be backward compatible with Xbox One, PS4 was a marketing decision. It was the fact that they didn't execute on that is unfortunate, but I don't I don't think that smacks of greed. I think that smacks of wanting to get it out to as many people as you can. But yeah, I mean, you're right. Lewis, to your point about it would be good to see some executives held responsible for this. Yeah, the decision to, the go, no go decisions. I've been in a lot of meetings where you're literally like, the project is teetering. It could go this way. It could go that way. Do we go? Do we pause? Those are hard decisions. Ultimately, somebody has to be responsible for it. And it's not the poor schmuck who's, color shading trees for $9 an hour.
Yeah, I just more than anything else, because I know Xbox, specifically their intention for future is to make everything compatible for both current models and this next generation. Like that's been their expressed intent. And so part of it is like, okay, like this is sort of within that, but at the same time, Cyberpunk wasn't playable on these what I consider the current gen, this last gen, I guess, of technology. And they said that it would be. And ultimately, if it wasn't, hey, that sucks. That means that I wouldn't be able to play that game. Not that I really wanted to, but I wouldn't be able to if I really wanted to. And, but at the same time, it would at least work and it wouldn't have been untrue. These things are just unplayable. Like I've been watching people try and play through it and it's just unplayable. And so for that, it just, if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. Yeah. And I wish that they had, honestly, if they had said that before release, if they had said, hey, we're going to fix it, we're going to make it work a week before release, it is just not going to work. It would have been going back on everything that they had been saying, but it wouldn't necessarily have been a lie. And it would have been something that we could say like, okay, this is some garbage, but all right, we'll figure it out. And at least they're being honest with us now. And they didn't. They literally stopped anyone from being able to show their footage, and they stopped people from being able to talk about, like, do anything. Any of the review copies was on computer. They funneled it. This was intentional, and that's where I think the problem is.
Yeah. And I absolutely agree with that. And I'll also add that initially when they were talking about the current gen consoles receiving Cyberpunk, they really banged home that when you buy Cyberpunk for the current consoles, you'll get a free upgrade to the next gen consoles. Initially, when that first came out, it was like one of those, that's really cool because I can play it on the current system. And then when I inevitably buy the new system, I'm going to get the better version of the game with the better lighting and everything. But when you look at it, when you go back and look at it, it's like they already knew that these consoles were effed up. I already knew that they weren't functional. So maybe this upgrade was trading on CD Red's like value with Witcher, because they did that with Witcher, and that they gave you free upgrades to the definitive editions and stuff. And they're trading on that value with the consumer and saying like, well, we know this sucks and we're probably not going to fix these problems anywhere soon. So this is largely going to be unplayable, but here's a little treat. You get an upgrade later on down the road. But give me your money now. Yeah. And that's very malicious and insidious to me.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%. Now, one of the, just to be clear, with a lawsuit like this, they're suing the company, and therefore the only way that any impact will be felt by any individuals within the company is if the board then decides that the actions of individual executives led to them being sued, and the board is the only one who can make the decision about that. So the lawsuit is strictly, you guys did bad, we want our money back.
I do want to add one more thing to this whole conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Can we give these guys a round of applause for making Marvel's Avengers look good?
I don't know that that's something that they should be applauded for.
No. Well, no, it's just like that's quite a feat though, because that game was a bigger disappointment than my dad.
Closing out the year with the personal.
Wow. The bar has been dropped.
Exactly.
Right.
All right, so we'll find out where this goes, what happens to CD Projekt SA and therefore CD Projekt Red as this suit and probably others that may get rolled into this as a class action, or maybe separate, and they'll have to hire lots and lots of lawyers. Continues on into the future. It's going to continue. There's no question about that. All right, we're going to move into our in memoriam, folks. It's a long one, and so we're just going to kind of glide through these with occasional stops for some, deep and heartfelt commentary. And these are going to be we'll go through this in order of the start of the year, and they are pretty much calendar in order by calendar date of passing. Right off the bat, Terry Jones of Monty Python's Flying Circus and so many wonderful historical weirdness in January. Neil Peart, as Greg says, probably one of the members of one of the nerdiest bands to ever exist, Rush, also in January.
Yeah, I argued for inclusion in here. If you can leave aside his Ayn Rand period, gave us some absolutely unbelievable music, influenced an incredible diversity of people, and was just one of the all-time greats. Not likely to see anybody like that again in our lifetimes.
Hear, hear. Christopher Tolkien.
I guess I'm diving on that one too. That one made me, we're trying to avoid it's sad. They're all sad, but
yeah.
Anybody who knows me knows I'm a massive Tolkien fan. In fact, when we moved to our new house a month ago, we named the house Mirkwood, and we have an entire room full of Tolkien prints. Without Christopher Tolkien, we would have had the amazingness that was The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but we would not have had Lewis's all-time favorite book, The Silmarillion, and some of his other favorite books, Unfinished Tales, et cetera, et cetera. So, Lewis, I know you're still in mourning from January over this one.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I don't think I could ever pick up Slime Millions again.
Oh, little levity.
We have fun here.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Douglas. I included him on this because of his, at the height of his career in the 60s, the many semi-historical movies that he made. This is Spartacus, long before the series, and the Vikings and so on. Go look those up. Historical accuracy is way off the mark, but they're wonderful action films.
Oh, yeah, he was just such a dynamic figure. One thing that I applauded him for was in his later years after his stroke, how he just refused to give up. He kept pushing forward in spite of that. He was still. I remember seeing an interview, and he was still as charming as ever.
Yep.
And young Kirk Douglas was a babe. Just going to be outright.
Yep.
That chin.
And
Yes.
Max von Sydow. Ming the Merciless to Game of Thrones, and so many amazing roles in between.
I'll jump on this one. Flash Gordon is one of my all-time favorite guilty pleasure, dumb as bleep movies, but it's absolutely stellar. And Max von Sydow is just the most brilliantly sinister camp character. He's basically in drag, even though he's not in drag, and he's sensational. Oh, and Game of Thrones sound to it.
Oh yes, he was definitely a charmer.
Yep. Irrfan Khan. If you don't know this character or this actor, Jurassic World, Lego Jurassic World.
Oh, yes.
Amazing Spider-Man, Life of Pi. In 2001, after decades in Bollywood, he did the amazing Indian film historical drama, The Warrior. If you haven't seen it, it is one of the most beautiful movies ever made. I can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, he was definitely an actor whose career that I followed for a good number of years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw him he had such a major role in Jurassic World, I was thrilled. Like, I didn't love the movie, but I loved every scene that he was in.
Yeah, he was a talent.
And it was great for like representation in general. Like, yeah, he definitely raised the bar for minority actors.
Here. Joel Schumacher, obviously the one not in the armor. So many nerd movies, starting with the Batman series and going well past that. One of the very first out gay power players as a director and a producer in Hollywood.
For better or worse, honestly, like you hate to see a guy like that go. That was, again, some of his stuff was weird and out there, and I didn't always love it, but at the same time, it left a mark, and I remember it.
Go watch Tigerland.
Yeah,
one of the best. It's not a war movie because it doesn't actually take place in war. It's boot camp, but Colin Farrell's first movie in America, I think. It's amazing.
Yeah.
He gave us bat nipples.
That's the thing. It left him. You remember his movies, like
exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
He definitely had a flair for theatrics in all of his work.
This is true.
Yeah, like say what you want to about Batman and Robin, but
and we do.
We could do a whole show on that.
Yeah. Well, also Batman Forever, like his use of colors was second to none.
Yeah,
like his Riddler costumes were just like they were something special, and good lord, he was a treasure.
And one thing it's a very small thing, but to what Greg said, a lot of people always bring up bat nipples, but if you look at this picture right here that we have, no one ever points out that Mr. Freeze has nipples too.
And they're rock hard.
Oh my god! Really?
Armor metal nipples for Mr. Freeze.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I feel like those trump bat nipples any day of the week.
They kind of do.
Oh my gosh!
I will say that his contributions led to one of the best Mad TV skits ever as well.
I don't want to get into that because we don't have time, but you'll have to tell us at some other point about which one you're referring to. Next, Sir Ian Holm. Too many brilliant nerd performances, starting with Ash and Alien and to Bilbo. It's impossible to describe how good this guy was.
Fifth Element.
Yes.
And this is obviously from Fifth Element, yeah.
Oh, it hasn't shown up. There we go. Clearly. One of my favorite roles of his was From Hell with Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Kind
right.
of flies under the radar a little bit, but that's a good, over the top kind of horror, kind of not so. Who was that? Alan Moore? Was that?
Oh,
one?
yes.
Was that based on his?
Yep.
So it's definitely got that patina of Alan Moore's crankiness.
Yes.
Through the whole thing, but it's a great movie if you haven't caught it.
And if you want to check out any of his non-nerd stuff, Chariots of Fire.
Yep.
He's an amazing actor. Grant Imahara.
Oh my god.
So I never met him, despite the fact that he was an absolute stalwart in the convention scene after, during and after MythBusters. But I have friends who were good friends with Grant, and this ruined them. Enough so that beyond my, my feels for losing somebody who I loved watching, it hurt even more watching my friends go through what they had to go through because they were so close to Grant.
Same. I was definitely a huge fan of him on MythBusters. He loved his fans. There's no doubt about it. And he loved fandom, like as a whole. You can see that in some of his you definitely see that in some of his creations. Like the other day, I posted his last creation before his death. It was a working mock-up of Grogu or Baby Yoda or the child, and it was flawless. Like that's how dedicated he was. And there'll never be another nerd like Grant Imahara, in my opinion.
Hear, hear. And a lot of these hit me hard. The only one that made me cry, Chadwick Boseman.
Ugh. Okay, so this is especially hard for me because he died on my birthday.
Oof.
Yeah. And the other day I was talking with a friend about this, and he gave me a new perspective on it. He said, you can celebrate your life and his life on your birthday. And that's what I decided that I'm going to do from here on out. I'm just going to celebrate the man's life because he was a hero of mine. I was bawling like a baby when I found out. I'm holding back tears right now. He was a hero on and off screen. Howard Graduate. He was battling cancer. He was ready to start filming part 2 when all this happened. If that's not a sign of heroics, I don't know what is.
Yep. That he's going to be missed in all kinds of ways. And again, if you want to go see his nerd stuff, there's brilliant, nerd movies out there. But check out 42. Check out Get On Up.
He was a triple threat.
He's an amazing talent. An amazing talent.
Roddy, before you jump to the next image.
Yep.
I've just, he's charismatic and magnetic as a character and to look at. And the image you got up there, I mean, you can just see the personality and the strength. I'm mesmerized by this costume. The costume design on all of Black Panther was absolutely stupendous, but this one in particular really, like, if I was 100 pounds lighter, I would wear stuff like that if I could get away with it. Anyway, not pertinent to anything else. Just I appreciate quality costume design and execution.
I remember a very brief article concerning Chadwick in The Five Bloods, which was a Netflix movie.
Yep.
And it was actually an interesting article because it was one of his co-stars commenting on him passing away, and it's interesting because even though he passed away, he's still in a way teaching people lessons. And in this specific scenario, his co-star recollects Chadwick Boseman being on set, and he was surrounded by like masseuses and like all these specialists, and he didn't understand because no one knew, because Chadwick kept it really tight, which is, respect his privacy. And he says, and in his commentary, he was talking about how like he thought Chadwick Boseman was soft, like he wasn't. This is a guy who like needed to get a massage after every take and yada yada yada. And I thought he was soft, but the important part of that article wasn't the nasty things that he thought. It was when he realized that the man passed away, the sheer indomitable strength that he had to be on that set so late in his illness, and he still was professional, friendly, courteous to everyone. He was humble. He treated everyone with respect. He didn't show at all that he was a famous movie star. He just, he hit it big with Black Panther, and his co-star regrets ever even thinking. And going forward, his co-star said that he won't ever prejudge anyone like that again. And I think that's something that a lot of people should take to heart.
Hurts that it had to that lesson had to be learned because of Chadwick's death, but it's a lesson.
Yes.
All right. Diana Rigg. I chose a photo of her as Emma Peel from the 1960s Avengers, as opposed to the sassiest person on Game of Thrones, Olenna Tyrell, because she was all of those. She was an absolute, fantastic, sexy action star in the 1960s British TV, and one of the most indomitable spirits in a show full of people who can chew scenery like crackers.
Absolutely. Yeah, like she was definitely one of the most memorable parts of Game of Thrones, is including the way that her character went out, because you're just watching her grab that ball and she's like, nope, you don't get to decide my fate. I'm going to decide my fate. And I'm about to say a big swear, if that's not a sign of a boss bitch, I don't know what is.
Yep.
It totally is. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. The scenes with her and Charles Dance, Tywin Lannister, were some of the best dialogue-heavy scenes in the entire series. I would have watched an entire spin-off series of the two of them just taking a carriage around the Seven Kingdoms and smack talking local chefs. Buddy road comedy. Yeah, I mean, just looking at this photo from the Avengers, I haven't seen this one in a while. She was powerful. She was a boss bitch. Well put.
And Sean Connery. That was another ouchie.
Yep.
I mean, like I mean, it's one of those things. It was about time, but at the same time, man, like, yeah, he Zardoz will always live in my heart as ridiculous as it is. Like, that will live in my heart as one of my favorite Sean Connery moments. And it's just like, yes, Sean Connery in a Speedo with a bandolier of bullets. It's just like, yes. And a ponytail.
And the furry chest proudly.
Yes.
Yeah.
The movie that launched 1 billion cosplays.
Yeah.
But only at Dragon Con, because no place else would allow them.
Yep.
Facts. Sean Connery, he say what you want to about his scenery chewing. Like, that was definitely a part of his shtick, and it made every role that he was in that much more fun. Like, even League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, a movie that he hated.
Yeah, which this is from.
Yes, he had him. It was like he was definitely one of the most memorable actors in that movie, because he was just channeling every single experience from his career into that role, I felt.
I would strongly recommend for anybody who wants to see him in the pre-scenery chewing era to watch some of his early movies that he made as he was also starting the Bond stuff, Molly Maguire's, movies like that. The guy has acting chops and so rarely got a chance to use them.
Mm.
Alex Trebek. Obviously not in any sort of nerd entertainment, but there's no question that this is preeminent nerddom.
Yes.
I would say Jeopardy is it's not movies or high fantasy or sci-fi, but is there anything nerdier than Jeopardy? I mean, right down to the fact that the format is so FU. It's I'm sorry, you forgot to phrase your answer in the form of a question.
Question. Actually.
Yeah. I mean, I've watched Jeopardy off and on for years. It's a wonderful show. It's one of the few truly kind of cerebral TV shows in its way.
Yes.
And I think, in some ways the hardest part is that he, by all accounts, was such a mensch. I mean, he recorded like as he knew he was like the cancer kind of resurged, he knew he was, a couple of weeks tops before he passed on, was recording final episodes and was recording like Thanksgiving greetings for people to post on his social media, saying, be strong, don't give up hope. There can be something better on the other side.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really always admired his courage in those last days. One memory during, like, as he was preparing to pass, was the People magazine cover with his wife, and how the headline was "Love Saved Me." So it's like he chose to find the magic in every single moment that he had left.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Alex Trebek was an incredible man. He did a lot for a lot of people, and as when I was growing up, and with my interesting background, I spent a lot of time in between doing bad things, sitting as a child in front of TV, and we didn't have cable or anything like that because we were poor as hell. So one of the only channels was, I want to say, NBC or ABC, or one of those.
CBS.
One of CBS. One of those. It was irrelevant, really, at the point. But Jeopardy was on it, and Jeopardy and Schools Match Wits. And honestly, between those two shows, it made me want to learn more as a child. And I would honestly say that between those two things and acting in Shakespeare were about the three things that most likely saved my life from being dead at like 16 in the streets.
That's amazing.
And it's great that we had Sean Connery and Alex Trebek right after, because the best SNL,
Yes.
SNL skits.
That reminds me, there was a fantastic meme that someone made about them meeting at the pearly gates, where Sean Connery was like, "We made again, Trebek."
Your mother, Trebek.
And shortly after that, David Prowse, the body behind Darth Vader.
There was a lot of controversy behind him playing the role in suit, and then the actor that played Anakin as he was dying. I remember when I was in high school, I heard that he felt slighted over it, and I agree. It's like, why go this far when you have an actor who is more than capable of delivering these lines?
Yeah, that's apparently that all got settled. He obviously became comfortable with his relationship with the role, and that was a tough part or tough time as a Star Wars fan to watch that back and forth between him and Lucas, but it got settled. Another pretty Titanic-sized individual, Tommy Lister, seen here obviously from Fifth Element. The second Fifth Element shot in here, I just realized.
You never have too many Fifth Element shots.
That's true.
Yeah, you can never have too many.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, okay, so my introduction to this entertainer was in his wrestling career.
Zeus.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. That's what I was going to come up with that. Yeah, growing up, him and Hulk Hogan had one of the best rivalries, second to that of Andre the Giant.
Mm-hmm.
He was in promos, he was a man of few words. He had such an intimidating build. And he was in one of my favorite schlock movies of all time, No Holds Barred. If you have never seen that, you are doing yourself a disservice as a wrestling fan and just as a fan of popcorn cinema.
Admittedly, he was, and I say this with respect, he was terrible in the ring, but at the same time, he wasn't actually a wrestler, and so they just like said, "Oh, you're gonna wrestle now." He's like, "I'm gonna what? Okay," and so like had him come in, and they just had him work with Hogan, and it worked because he just had that charisma, he had that ability.
Yes,
he exuded it. So.
Well, I was watching a documentary about that actually because I had watched No Holds Barred fairly recently, and it was just funny how basically they were just like, "Wow, this movie actually is terrible, but also it's really good because people love it because of Hulk Hogan."
Yes.
So let's take this movie actor and make him wrestle, but also act at the same time as the character in the movie. And at that time, the glam '80s of WWF, back when it was called WWF, was it worked, and he got into like other stuff, and I find it interesting, Rodney, that you use the Fifth Element picture. Because it's one of those roles where you didn't see him being intimidating. He was actually like the president. If people who are watching haven't seen Fifth Element, he was the president of this whole
of Earth, of the entire planet.
Yep.
Of the entire planet, which and he was articulate and soft voiced, with the exception of one part. But it was a rare role to see him in, where he's not like the bully that is beating people up.
Yeah, he wasn't Debo.
Yeah, he was a man beset by the bureaucracy around him that he just really didn't like, and you could tell.
Yeah.
This is great. He was, and Friday. I mean, now if you talk about intimidating, they're so completely different roles, and he was a solid actor.
Yes, arguably one of his most iconic, if not his most iconic role, was in Friday as Debo. Yep. I mean, growing up in my community, like I don't know, like as slang, we use the term Debo whenever someone wanted to take something by force or whatnot, and that's the impact that his presence in the world gave so many urban youth.
Hugh Keays-Byrne. Toe Cutter and Immortan Joe, and that's pretty much almost all we know of him here in the States, but he had a long career, mostly in Australian TV and movies.
Incredible actor. The energy that he brought to Toe Cutter and Immortan Joe, the fact that most people didn't even know that he was the same character, that was just the way he spoke as Toe Cutter was amazing. I'm a huge Mad Max fan. I've never shied away from saying that. I love everything post-apocalypse. And like watching him, like especially this scene right here where he goes to the conductor guy, and the guy's like, you're gonna take your friend, and then he just turns around, he's like, his name is the Knight Rider. When you look at the sky, remember him. and a lot of people don't know, but the conductor, this particular character that Toe Cutter was talking to, was the only person who, when the Toe Cutter said to take off his hat, he took off his hat and the Toe Cutter let live. One person and all the people that he killed, that was the one character he let go, because when he said take off your hat, the guy took off his hat.
And Jeremy Bulloch. This happened recently enough that anybody who's watching the show right now has probably heard us go on about our stories about Jeremy Bulloch. But he was just one of the nicest guys, friendliest guys at a convention you'll ever meet.
Yeah. I mean, what can we say that hasn't already been said?
Yep. And it's, all the kudos to Temuera Morrison for, making Boba Fett character badass. But Jeremy Bulloch was the OG.
I'm inclined to believe that he was channeling Jeremy Bulloch's performance in those scenes.
Could be. And our last one, because it literally happened just a couple of days ago. Jon Huber, better known as Brodie Lee.
Yep. So for those who don't follow wrestling, we've lost a lot of wrestlers this year, as we always do. Road Warrior Animal, Pat Patterson, but this one hit recently, and it hit particularly hard because right now he's portraying Brodie Lee, Mr. Brodie Lee, the head of the Dark Order, and before he was Luke Harper in WWE. If you ever watched during the Wyatt family versus the Shield era, I recommend, if you want to watch some of his work, watch some of his work with the Wyatt family versus the Shield, or recently his work with Cody Rhodes is stellar. But the other big thing that I wanted to say about Mr. Brodie Lee, about Jon Huber, is that everyone has had nothing but amazing things to say about this man. I've never met him, but I know people who have shared a locker room with him, and they just say the most stellar things about him. And this was so sudden. We did not know. He had probably the match of his career against Cody Rhodes in a dog collar match, the first one in decades. And he had that, and then suddenly he was gone. And we were just kind of waiting, and no one heard anything until a few days ago when we found out that he passed away. And so for me, as someone who grew up with wrestling, as someone who loves wrestling, it's just very sad because it's hard sometimes in that industry to find genuinely nice people, genuine people. And yeah.
One thing I wanted to add, a couple of days ago on Instagram, one of my favorite theatrical actors, James Englehart, posted a tribute to him when Jon Huber and his wife went to go see a performance of Hamilton when he was playing Lafayette, and he stuck around to the show. And James Englehart is a huge wrestling fan, so when he heard about this, he talked about how down to earth he was, how genuine, just like how much of he was honestly taken aback by the fact that he was such a huge Hamilton fan. And it was just so touching that to hear that he was like such a lover of the arts, like that.
So made me feel closer to him. That was a long in memoriam. There was a lot of people. There's a lot of people we didn't put on that were, that we'll all miss. The most significant death of the entire year, obviously Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but not necessarily nerd news. Carl Reiner.
May I interject one person?
Mm-hmm.
You guys might have talked about it previously. I haven't been around, but I also want to say that I'm always going to miss my man Hanson. He passed away a little bit ago. You guys might have talked about it already.
We haven't, and it's okay.
It's difficult. And
it's difficult we're all because it's personal. He's not a celebrity. It's yeah. Let's. I don't want to.
I get it. I'm giving him a shout out purely because he is personal, and I want him to be heard and seen on the list. And I get it. I'm always going to miss him.
I didn't know him personally, but
I did, and let's not. Please. So for Hanson, for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for so many others that we've lost this year, whether you've got an alcoholic drink or not, safer travels, folks. Now we're moving on to news. And it can't get much more of a change from what we just did to the most ridiculous news of the past week, and that is KFC is apparently coming out with an actual gameplay console.
Oh, my word.
And it is a real thing. There is an Intel NUC, a mini computer, inside this chamber that was designed by KFC to be big enough that it actually also has a storage space for you to keep your chicken warm. Not a joke.
I love everything about this.
First time I've seen the picture of anything except the front. It looks like it's what, one wing and one fiddly drumstick.
Yeah,
it's not like you're getting a family pack and a bunch of biscuits in there.
Yeah, if you look on the side of where they've got it in the tray, essentially what they've done is they've put it in a regular hard drive tray.
Because they're already form factored for that.
Exactly. So, and it makes sense from a design standpoint, but it also means you can't put a whole lot of chicken in there.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, but really though, is that where we're gonna quibble when people buy like coasties that heat your coffee, keep your coffee warm? I mean, it's the same thing.
Yep. Oh, I'm not quibbling. Honestly,
it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Right down to the way they've mashed the KFC console. How do you pronounce that?
KF console.
Yeah, that's the KF console. I think
the KF console is the official name. If we want to quibble about it,
if the controllers are not drumstick,
of a bucket. So I wanted to know, do they have like chromatograph built in? So if you try and put Popeyes or Bonchon in there, will it like spit it out?
What is the KFC equivalent to DRM?
Yeah. No, but you will get a blue screen of death.
It's DRM.
You put some Popeyes in there, one of their celebrity colonels are going to show up and beat the shit out of you.
Yep.
Somebody's already working on breaking that encryption.
I just hope that it's John Goodman whenever it happens to me.
So the trailer for it is stellar, and all they had to do was release the trailer. That's it. That's all they had to do, and we would have laughed. And we would have said, "Oh, KFC, they're releasing an actual console."
Well, it is not available for sale. They've made no announcement of when it. But it is a design product based on an existing micro PC. So. There's no reason why they couldn't sell the hell out of these.
I mean, let's be real here. They're gonna sell this damn thing.
Oh,
they're
yeah.
gonna sell it like 50 of them.
Absolutely.
And it's gonna be a color, because if you can get away with hype beast and supreme bullshit cell phones that sell for like $1,000 for a Nokia from like the 90s, you're gonna get away with this because people are gonna buy it because it's something that's not gonna be around. I'm not gonna put it on a pedestal next to my Leonardo da Vinci portrait, but.
So, as a question, were these built into the hover chairs on the ship in WALL-E?
I think they might be.
We are approaching WALL-E, folks.
You're not the first person to say that either, because I saw somebody say something like that on Twitter when they announced it.
Oh God,
this reminds me of the gags that now no longer exist. Commercial geek site used to what was it called? It was
Think Geek.
Think Geek?
Thank you. Yeah, Think
Yes.
Geek. Think Geek used to do those gaff like things all the time.
Yeah, and sometimes they actually sold them because they were so popular. Luminous. I like the steam rising from the chicken. Yeah, you really don't want steam condensing inside your electronics. So let's hope the chamber itself is sealed somehow.
All right, Rodney, come on. You didn't grow up in the hood. If we can hide bags of weed inside our PS5, PS3s, and 2s, we can shove some shit in there. Let it steam up a little bit.
When I was that age, well, actually, weed did exist, but never mind. So, speaking of Popeyes, that is a screenshot from the test footage that Genndy Tartakovsky?
Yes.
Tartakovsky did when back in 2012, I believe it was, he was working on an animated version of Popeye.
Yes.
And according to some reports, in this case it's Nerdist reporting on a story in Animation Magazine, he's back at it. And we could sometime possibly in 2021 or 2022 see a Genndy Tartakovsky made animated Popeye movie.
That would be brilliant.
Yeah. For those of you in the audience who don't know, he did Samurai Jack. He did that really awesome tiny micro series of Star Wars.
Yep.
The Clone Wars. Fantastic guy.
And
if he does his Alpha.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. I don't even like Popeye, but I'll watch the hell out of this.
Yeah.
I do want to add a little bit of trivia about this. So yeah, while this clip was his pitch for a full-fledged film, it got passed. Sony passed it up for the Emoji Movie.
Oh, God.
Yep. I'm in a similar boat as Lewis in that, like, I don't really care about Popeye, but I love Dendy. I can't even say his name. Jenny Tartakovsky.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good
but
old JT.
I love him. And so I will definitely be checking it out because give me more of his work.
Yes.
Now, it is a report that is sources tell this animation news magazine. So it is based on unverified sources. But I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, Sony obviously needs more content, and who knows? Maybe it'll go into whatever they do when they combine Funimation and Crunchyroll.
Well, I mean, considering how they bet on the wrong horse to begin with.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the Emoji Movie was garbage. If you ever want to watch somebody absolutely melt down in their commentary, watch Bob Chipman, Movie Bob's review of... he does not swear hardly ever in any of the reviews, and this is just a foul, profanity-laden... He is very inventive in the ways to describe garbage. Anyway, something that is not garbage, that is, of course, the Mando. The news is that Mandalorian Season 3 is going to be delayed because of the new Ahsoka series. Traditionally, the first season and this most recent season debuted in the fall of their given years, and we're now being told that to finish up Ahsoka, which has actually apparently started filming, they are not going to start filming on the Mandalorian stuff until late summer or early fall, so it probably won't come out until sometime in mid-2021. Mid-2022, sorry, as opposed to fall of 2021. So
I'm actually not surprised, to be honest, because I'm betting money that Ahsoka, Mandalorian, Rangers of the Galaxy. I know I'm missing Book of Boba Fett, and I'm missing another one somewhere in there. But
the Heath Ledger Obi-Wan, or no?
Not that one. No.
No. Okay.
Because that one's already been it's already being done. But they're all going to use the same digital stage that they use in Mandalorian until Disney decides to build 2 or 3 of those bad boys. And those things are massive, ridiculously expensive sound stages. So they're probably going to have to cram everybody into one sound stage to get all of that done. And it's just going to be a bunch of like kids in a cafeteria trying to like move around.
But one of the great things, because it's digital LED wraparound screens, you don't have to have tear down and rebuild of sets. You can have the people making the CGI working, teams concurrently, and then just swap out whatever stuff you need inside the big ring to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, people get tired, Rodney, and they want to sleep.
Yeah,
they probably use the same crews.
There's Mandalorian to be had.
Tell that to CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
Or frankly, any game development studio.
Yeah.
And to be honest, to add a little bit to it, also Mandalorian is running to the end of it soon-ish. I think they said they were only going to go to like season 4 or something like that.
I haven't read that, so folks, take that for a grain of salt.
Allegedly, grain of salt.
I haven't read that anywhere, so but I wouldn't be terribly surprised. I'm assuming they're not going to keep these guys around forever. Like Pedro Pascal probably doesn't want to be tied down to this quite so much as he is. Although he still managed to do Wonder Woman 1984. So
Mandalorian is literally like the marijuana of Disney right now. It's just a gateway drug to all the other stuff. We're gonna get there, and Book of Boba Fett, all of that. So.
Well, that's mainly because Jon Favreau has been at the helm with this project, and I think that if Disney, I hope Disney stays in this direction of making sure they know that they get people that know what they're doing with this mythos in the story.
Yeah. I will say I'm trepidatious. I know I've talked about this on our full fat spoiler chat about Mando. There's a lot of people involved that I'm just not a fan of, so I may hold off until I find out who's in the next season.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be skipping Ahsoka just because I do not like the person portraying Ahsoka. So I'm just like, all right, but yeah, okay. Let's see. I'm
at least you got
optimistic.
At least you got Book of Boba Fett.
I'm psyched for that one.
Yeah.
All right, and speaking of, as I just did, the Wonder Womans, the news is that they've already greenlit Wonder Woman 3, Patty Jenkins coming back to helmet, because it was what they call a successful first weekend, which, I guess $85 million in COVID times is a successful first weekend. And successful enough that they decided that they're going to start working on Wonder Woman 3 right out of the gate. This is our little plug. If you have seen Wonder Woman 1984 and you want to talk about it in all the spoilery chat goodness tomorrow night, 8 p.m., right here, same whatever streaming platform you're watching it on, we'll be doing our full fat spoiler chat. It will be about Wonder Woman 1984. It will be loaded with spoilers. So if you haven't seen it, don't show up. But if you have, we all have a lot to talk about.
Yes.
So I realize COVID math is not normal math, but $84 million doesn't cover what they spend on posters in movie theaters for marketing.
Nope.
Right.
Are they factoring? Oh.
I don't get the math behind how that's considered. I mean, I guess it could have been $9. So anything in the positive many millions has got to be good.
Well, you got to remember, this is just the opening weekend. So, and a 100 million plus opening weekend is always considered to be a big blockbuster. So 85 million during COVID times in an opening weekend doesn't suck. I mean, you're right. It's a multi-$100 million movie. But
so that's like it's real early on. It's getting fairly savaged by professional and armchair critics alike, or if not savage, then at least meh seems to be the general consensus.
Right.
They're not going to make a penny on video on demand because it's already free on video on demand if you own or if you subscribe to HBO Max. It's funny, I just saw a thing, a friend of ours posted that Disney Plus got more net new subscribers for their release of Soul this weekend than HBO Max got on the strength of Wonder Woman on HBO Max. So this, I hate to think that it's sort of, it seems likely that movies do that and then hopefully they trail off on a slow curve, but this seems like the backside could be a very steep drop off.
One thing that I want everyone to consider about this is the fact that it's a huge trend in streaming platforms to not release their ratings numbers for a lot. I don't know, it's for every property that they release, but Netflix doesn't do it, and I'm fairly certain that Warner Media is not gonna do it for HBO Max. So it might, I'm guessing enough people watched it where it was deemed a success.
Yeah, enough people watched it that it had problems playing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, I am excited for a lot of reasons. I have very specific opinions that I'll share tomorrow night. But at the same time, it wasn't really my favorite movie. But at the same time, I'm excited because for so many years, a movie that was kind of okay to good, that was a female protagonist in any kind of comic book movie, which there haven't been a lot of those, still, because it didn't perform stellar and outperform everything else, meant that it got nothing more, no sequels, we've got a kind of baked potato movie, baked potato with no fixins movie, that's still immediately, like, we know the next day it's getting another one with a female lead. And so for me, it's like, all right, from a cultural standpoint, good. We're moving in the direction that, yeah, a female-led superhero movie can do kind of, all right, and still be guaranteed to have an audience.
Yes.
Yeah.
I never thought about that until you just said it. But yeah, there has definitely been a lot of talk in past years about how a female-led film has to be exceptional. It's not allowed to be mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so, then we got Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
wait, I don't know what I agreed to.
Yeah, which we're still waiting on a sequel for.
Well, no, I mean, they've confirmed that the sequel is being made.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Captain Marvel. Well, we'll get into this tomorrow night. Relative
spoiler chat too.
Relative values.
I mean, what you said is on point though, Ashley, because at the end of the day, female-led movies are never held to the same standards as men-led movies. They're always put on a higher standard. Like like they tighten the noose on it. It flops once, they don't even think about any sequels or anything like that. They just want to toss it to the side and point at it and say, well, this is your fault why it flopped. All you like leftists and blah blah blah. You guys cocked all of this up. And now to have Wonder Woman have a third movie in production is a big step forward. Hopefully we maintain that energy though.
Yep. All right, our last topic. We're sticking with the DC folks. That's, of course, that is Robert Pattinson. And the news is that the DC Films chief, Walter Hamada, has confirmed their plans going forward their movies will be based around the concept of the DC multiverse. So they will have a line where Robert Pattinson is Batman at the same time as having Ben Affleck come back as Batman in the upcoming Flash movie. And again, as all the rumors are out there, quite possibly Michael Keaton. So and they say that it is going to be clearly spelled out that way, particularly in the Flash movie, which is going to be based on Flashpoint. All of their movies going forward will be considered Earth 1 and Earth 2 movies, and they will be connected within their specific Earth 1 or Earth 2 milieu.
I almost feel like they don't need to spell it out at this point.
Yeah.
We're just sort of like, yeah, fine, whatever. There's 5 Batmen, and there's like, yeah, okay, this guy's the Joker, and that guy's the Joker, and she's the Joker, he's the Joker, we're the Joker.
Sure, whatever,
fine. Too? Yeah, like
whatever. Honestly, I disagree because
totally cool.
Because no, I just say that I disagree because when the Joker movie came out and everybody thought the world was gonna fall apart into anarchy, I can't count on all my fingers and toes how many people were like, how does this fit into like Batman and Justice League and the Joker, but what about this Joker, what about the other Joker and Suicide Squad, they the same Joker? And it's like, no, you need it. That's why you need warning labels on coffee cups, things like that. And I know the whole story behind that, so let's not get into that, but my point being is you need warning labels to let people know, because people can be really effing stupid at times about things. And they just want to sit there and argue about like semantics and things. So you need to tell people that, hey, this is not that and that is not this, because then they'll just sit there and argue for days on Reddit.
No explanation is going to be good enough. We're going to be right back to Marvel time travel.
Never. Like, you're never as good as a Marvel.
That's how time travel works. Like,
I actually, like, I want to say about 1.5 years ago, I actually read an article that had mentioned that DC was going in this direction. It was a theory at the time.
Oh yeah, I saw a YouTube video talking about that too.
They said basically in a nutshell, like DC sucks hot ass at that. You know what? Fuck it. I said it. I swear and I don't care. I fell into the deep end. But the article basically kicked out the theory that the executives and things like that were just realizing that the Marvel method doesn't work for them. So they just want to bang out movies with their A-list material and treat it as Elseworlds. And supposedly that's where Flashpoint comes in, because that's the gateway into this Elseworlds multiverse thing that they're setting up. And I think it's a great idea, because I don't need a consistent plot between movies to love a movie. Like, I could have a self-contained movie and just be damn well happy with that. I don't need everything to like connect, you know?
Yeah, it takes less of the pressure off of the viewer as well.
Yep.
Like, yeah, I'm definitely on board for this, because we're finally getting into a place where it's no longer studios trying to ride on the coattails of Marvel, because that has worked horribly on a number of fronts. Looking at you, Universal.
Oh yeah, well that was just stupid. But so here's the thing. Marvel comes out with Endgame, and which clearly sets up multiverse concept, announces a movie called The Multiverse of Madness, and DC, which has been saying for years now, we're not going to copy Marvel, doesn't work for us, it doesn't work for us, is now saying our movies are going to be based around the concept of a multiverse. Cake and eat it too there?
Yes and no. I mean, it's like watching an episode of South Park where they're just like, Simpsons did it. Like, yeah, okay, who the hell cares? Who cares who came up with the idea first? It does it. If it works, it works.
Exactly.
I think also with Marvel, it's more a matter of how do we create a story around this larger story that we've created, whereas DC, it's literally, how can we explain that we want to do what we want? And I really think that, like, as much as it's the same words for a thing, it's like it's kind of a different thing.
Like, that's my thinking as well. I mean, it's one feels like, I mean, Marvel generally has felt like there's been a guiding, there's been a playbook behind things. There's been a framework, a canon to hang everything on. Whereas all of this stuff from DC feels like retcon. Ashley, to your point, for me personally, I don't care whether they tie it all together or they come up with some creative explanation for why one Batman's voice is gravelier than the others and the other guy's 3 inches taller. I don't give a shit about that. I cannot wrap my head around the idea that we're going to get 2 of these a year for the foreseeable future. It's overkill. It's so much too much. I mean, most of what DC has come out with in the last several years has been pretty crappy. And I don't see like the combination of doing it during COVID, the pressure to get stuff out the door, to meet a timeline that's been handed down by executives, doesn't smack of, let's get some really creative people in here to do some cool storytelling and, spin some interesting tales here. And smacks of, let's get product on the shelf.
Exactly. Now, I didn't even mention that yet, and in fact, it's 4 a year.
4, excuse me.
Oh, Christ.
Starting in 2022.
That's one of those easier said than done kind of things, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So my question is, are these movies going to run on the PS4 and the Xbox One?
They'll actually only run on the Nintendo Switch.
All right, Ashley, thank you. That was a wonderful callback to our very top first subject, and that means we're wrapping this up and we're moving into the very last thing that we're going to do here. We're going to start with Byron and work our way around. Byron, wishes for or for something not to happen in 2021?
Wishes for. I wish for everybody to move forward from this horror show of a year. That's all I really want, because there are just so many things that have happened this year. I can't just name one. We've lost loved ones. We've lost establishments. We've lost, some of my favorite businesses have closed down, like the Way Station in New York. I'm still hurting from that one, and I just want us to learn from the horror of this year to be better next year.
Hear, hear. Greg.
God, there's so many. It's hard to wrap it up in a short sentence or two.
But try.
I hope that January 6th and then January 20th are smooth and free of drama. No, hopefully I don't need to explain why. I hope to be able to see all of these beautiful, friendly, lovable people in the flesh, in the person, at some point in the not too distant future.
All you guys are getting hugs when we meet again.
I saw Crash for an hour on a beach photo shoot, and we stayed as far apart as we could. And that's literally the only time I've seen anybody since March, since Katsucon. I just wish everybody here 6 months from now we're all on this and everyone's still healthy and safe.
Indeed.
Lewis.
Honestly, I don't really know, but wishes are such a difficult thing because I don't like to throw out something that probably will never actually happen. But I wish motherfuckers would actually wear their masks.
Right.
So there's that. And going into the next year, this year was terrible. Next year, this year people have been adapting to terrible situations, and next year it's going to continue. I'm not going to pretend that it's not going to continue. The magical vaccine is not going to be out for all of us yet. So if I was to make a wish, the wish would be that I hope all of you guys are all here next year. And on top of wishing that you're here and your families are here and everything is good for you, I wish that what you take out of this in a few years when you look back is that you went through such an impossible time and you survived it, and you took away lessons of empathy, humility, caring. Those are the things I wish for.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Ashley.
I wish for a Nintendo Switch. No,
do you wish that Cyberpunk runs on it?
But in all seriousness, as always, I wish and want for more and better trans representation across all media, and I mean that as and, not and
Word.
or. I want same for any other marginalized group, people who are with disabilities. I want better and more representation in media, and we're starting to see that. We are, but at the same time, it's still not enough, and it's oftentimes
it's a marathon,
not as great
not a
as it
sprint.
could be. Yeah, but yeah, that, and I really want to be able to fight my friends again, doing my stage combat thing. It's hard to do stage combat at a distance. These are my wishes.
I'm gonna be Mr. Selfish. I wish that people actually do continue to pay attention to the health needs of wearing masks and so on, and get their vaccines really early, because I really wish to go to a convention again.
That's fair.
I miss seeing all my friends at conventions. I miss taking photos at conventions. I miss it, and I want to go back. So that's what I wish for. And if to be able to do that means everybody continues to try to be healthy and gets healthier, and we all get vaccinated and so on, well, that's going to be an aspect of my selfish wish. So that's it, folks. Thank you all.
Training arc.
Exactly. Thank you all for tuning in. We're going to do a quick goodbye, starting with Byron and working our way around. Byron, say goodbye.
Goodbye, so long, auf Wiedersehen, adieu.
Yeah, don't sing the whole song.
I wasn't.
Greg.
I literally can't follow that up, so I'm just going to say good night, Happy New Year, stay safe, stay warm if you're in New England. We'll see you in 21.
Lewis, welcome back, and let's have your goodbye.
Well, it was a pleasure, and thank you, everyone, once again. And if I don't see you again, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
There you go. Ashley?
Goodbye, and join the Dark Order.
Well played. Before I say goodbye, Luminous, thanks for all the news and discussions this year, folks. It's been great to have some nerd interaction during this long shutdown. You're welcome, Luminous. Thank you for being a regular viewer of our stuff and contributing your wonderful commentary. And again, I really hope to see you at an upcoming con, man. And for Rodney Brown, me, goodbye. Thank you all. If you want to see us tomorrow night, Full Fat Spoiler Chat, 8 o'clock. We'll be discussing Wonder Woman 1984 and spoiling the hell out of it, so if you haven't seen it, don't. Come on. And our next show will be